What if I told you that one of the greatest films of all time almost never made it to the big screen? The Shawshank Redemption might be a timeless classic today, but behind those prison walls are secrets most fans have never heard. From shocking casting choices that could have changed the entire story, to hidden details buried in plain sight, and even on-set dramas that shaped the movie's fate, this film holds more mystery than you think. So, let's break open the cell doors and uncover 10 secrets about the Shawshank Redemption you never knew. 10. Tom Hanks almost played Andy.
Can't say I approve of this, but I suppose exceptions can be made.
One of the biggest secrets behind the Shawshank Redemption is that Andy Dufresne almost looked completely different. Before Tim Robbins was chosen, the role was first offered to Tom Hanks. At that time, Hanks was Hollywood royalty, riding high on success with Philadelphia and already working on Forrest Gump. Because of his busy schedule, he turned down the role, and history took a different turn. Other names were also floating around. Kevin Costner, Tom Cruise, and even Charlie Sheen were considered for Andy. Each of them would have brought something completely different to the character, but none could have matched the quiet intensity that Robbins delivered. What makes this such a fascinating secret is how the entire tone of the film could have shifted. With Hanks, Andy might have been portrayed with more obvious emotion and charm, while Cruise might have leaned into fiery intensity. Robbins, however, gave Andy something rare, an understated presence that left the audience guessing what he was truly thinking. His calm silence in the courtroom, his steady patience in prison, and his unshakable determination all became defining parts of the movie. The fact that Robbins wasn't the first choice makes his performance even more legendary. Instead of a superstar leading the film, audiences got an actor who completely disappeared into the role. Looking back, this twist of fate is one of the most important secrets behind why The Shawshank Redemption feels so timeless today. 9. The film was a box office flop. Here's another surprising secret. The Shawshank Redemption wasn't a hit when it first premiered. In fact, it struggled badly at the box office. Released in 1994, the movie had to compete with cultural giants like Forrest Gump, Pulp Fiction, and even The Lion King. With so many iconic titles dominating theaters, Shawshank got lost in the shuffle. On top of that, the title itself was a problem. Many moviegoers admitted they couldn't pronounce Shawshank or figure out what kind of story it was. As a result, it drew only modest audiences and earned far less than expected. But this is where the story takes a remarkable turn. While theaters may not have embraced it, home video gave the film a second life. When the VHS version was released, rental stores placed it front and center, and slowly word of mouth began to spread. People discovered the emotional depth, the unforgettable performances, and the themes of hope and friendship. Television networks began airing it frequently, making it even more accessible. Over the years, this slow build transformed it from a forgotten release into one of the most beloved films ever made. This journey from failure to greatness is one of the most powerful secrets of The Shawshank Redemption. A film that once seemed doomed to be forgotten became a cultural treasure, proving that true art finds its audience even if it takes time. 8. Morgan Freeman's son has a cameo. One of the most surprising secrets hidden in The Shawshank Redemption is the small but meaningful role played by Morgan Freeman's son, Alfonso Freeman. Most fans remember Red's parole hearings, intense moments where Freeman delivered some of the finest acting of his career. In one of those scenes, there's a young man taking Red's mugshots, and that young man is Alfonso himself. For many viewers, it passes by unnoticed, but once you realize the connection, it adds a whole new layer to the film. But that's not Alfonso's only appearance. Earlier in the movie, when the new group of prisoners arrives at Shawshank, the men inside the yard start heckling them. Among the loudest voices is Alfonso shouting, "Fresh fish!" That chant has become one of the film's most memorable moments, and it's striking that Freeman's own son helped create it. This casting wasn't just a coincidence, it was a subtle way of connecting the Freeman family to the story in more ways than one. What makes this detail fascinating is how it mirrors the film's deeper themes. Shawshank is about bonds, loyalty, and unexpected connections, and here we see a real-life father and son both leaving their mark. Morgan Freeman carried the weight of Red's wisdom and heartbreak, while Alfonso slipped into the background, adding realism to prison life. It's a hidden gem in the film's history that many fans never notice until they dig into the details. 7. The oak tree was real. Another secret that stirs strong emotions among fans is the story of the oak tree. In the movie, the oak plays a symbolic role. It's the place where Andy leaves Red a letter and money, guiding him toward freedom and a new life in Mexico. For years, that tree wasn't just a set piece, it was a real oak, standing in the Ohio countryside, near where the film was shot. Fans traveled from all over the world just to visit it, touching the same bark that symbolized hope and redemption. For many, the oak became more than just a prop, it was almost a shrine. Couples carved initials, tourists posed for photos, and it turned into a pilgrimage site for die-hard movie lovers. Sadly, in 2011, strong winds damaged the tree, and in 2016, a lightning strike finally brought it down. Its fall was a heartbreaking moment for fans, as if a part of the film itself had been lost forever. But even though the tree is gone, its memory continues to live on. Pieces of the wood were salvaged and turned into keepsakes, ensuring that the symbol of Andy and Red's friendship will never truly disappear. The oak tree wasn't just background scenery, it was a living part of the story, carrying the weight of one of the most emotional scenes in cinema history. Knowing that it was real makes The Shawshank Redemption feel even more authentic and unforgettable. 6. The prison was real too. One of the most striking secrets about The Shawshank Redemption is that much of it was filmed inside a real prison. The production didn't rely on studio-built sets for authenticity. Instead, they chose the Ohio State Reformatory, a massive Gothic-style prison that had closed its doors in 1990. Walking through its cold, decaying halls, the filmmakers found the perfect backdrop for the grim world of Shawshank. The towering cell blocks, the peeling paint, and the haunting architecture gave the movie an atmosphere that no soundstage could replicate. For the cast, working in an actual prison added an eerie weight to their performances. Tim Robbins later described how the building's heavy air made the experience feel unsettling, almost as if the walls carried the echoes of real inmates from the past. The location wasn't just a filming space, it was a character in itself, shaping the mood of every scene. Today, that same prison has become a tourist destination. Fans from across the world visit to stand in Andy's cell, walk through the yard where Red told stories, and even tour the warden's office. What was once an abandoned building destined for demolition now thrives because of the film's enduring popularity. The choice to use a real prison didn't just make Shawshank visually powerful, it transformed an old building into a legendary landmark forever tied to cinema history. 5. Tim Robbins learned to crawl through sewage. The escape sequence in The Shawshank Redemption is one of the most unforgettable in film history. And here's a secret: Tim Robbins didn't just pretend to crawl through filth, he actually did it. To capture the raw desperation of Andy's escape, Robbins spent hours crawling through a specially built pipe filled with a revolting mixture designed to look like sewage. Of course, it wasn't a real waste, but that doesn't mean it was pleasant. The pipe was packed with a blend of muddy water, sawdust, and chocolate syrup, creating a thick, foul-smelling mess. Under the hot studio lights, the smell became almost unbearable, making the scene as physically uncomfortable for Robbins as it looked on screen. This detail is key to why the moment feels so authentic. Robbins didn't get to fake his way through the grime, he endured it. His slow crawl, his gasping breaths, and the look of relief when Andy bursts out into the rain weren't just acting, they came from real exhaustion and disgust. 4. The movie lost all 7 Oscars. It's shocking to learn that The Shawshank Redemption, often hailed as the greatest film ever made, walked away from the Academy Awards with nothing. In 1995, the movie was nominated for 7 Oscars, including Best Picture, Best Actor for Morgan Freeman, and Best Adapted Screenplay. Expectations were high, but when the night ended, Shawshank hadn't won a single award. Instead, the spotlight went to Forrest Gump, which dominated that year, along with Pulp Fiction, which was considered groundbreaking at the time. This loss is one of the most surprising secrets in Hollywood history. Critics had praised the film, yet the Academy overlooked it, perhaps because it lacked the flashy style or massive hype of its competitors. For director Frank Darabont and the cast, the disappointment must have been heavy, but what happened afterward proved more important than any trophy. Over the years, as audiences rediscovered the film on VHS and cable, its reputation skyrocketed. People connected with its story of friendship, hope, and resilience. Today, The Shawshank Redemption is ranked number 1 on IMDb's list of the greatest movies ever made. Its message has outlasted awards season politics, proving that true greatness isn't measured in golden statues. The fact that a film once snubbed by the Academy went on to become one of the most loved stories of all time is one of its greatest secrets. 3. Stephen King sold the rights for $1. Another remarkable secret about The Shawshank Redemption is its origin. The film is based on Stephen King's novella Rita Hayworth and Shawshank Redemption, published in his 1982 collection Different Seasons. Unlike many of King's stories filled with horror and the supernatural, this tale was grounded in human drama. When director Frank Darabont wanted to adapt it, King agreed and sold the rights for just $1. This wasn't unusual for King, who often offered what he called dollar deals to young filmmakers he believed in. He didn't care about the money, he cared about seeing his stories brought to life in creative ways. For Darabont, that single-dollar investment turned into one of the most celebrated movies of all time. Later, King jokingly framed Darabont's check and returned it to him, never cashing it. What makes this secret so fascinating is how such a small, humble exchange led to a cinematic giant. Without King's generosity, Darabont might never have had the chance to tell Andy and Red's story on screen. The film's existence is proof that sometimes passion matters more than profit. A $1 deal became the foundation of one of the greatest movies ever made, a reminder that even legendary art can start with something simple. 2. The ending almost looked different. One of the most emotional secrets about The Shawshank Redemption lies in its ending. Fans around the world remember that final scene, Red walking along the beach in Mexico, finally reuniting with Andy under the wide, open sky. It's the kind of conclusion that leaves you in tears, filled with relief and hope. But here's the twist. That wasn't the studio's original plan. The executives wanted the movie to end with Red riding the bus, looking uncertain as he traveled toward Andy. The idea was to leave his fate ambiguous, forcing the audience to imagine whether the reunion ever happened. Director Frank Darabont disagreed. He believed that after following Andy and Red's journey for so long, the audience deserved closure. He fought hard to film the ending the way he envisioned it, with Andy and Red embracing on the beach. That decision wasn't easy. Studios feared it might come across as too sentimental, but Darabont trusted his instincts, and the result became one of the most powerful conclusions in film history. Without that ending, the movie might have felt incomplete. This behind-the-scenes battle over the last few minutes of the film shows how close Shawshank came to being remembered very differently. Instead of uncertainty, audiences got a timeless symbol of freedom and friendship, an ending that feels perfect even decades later. 1. The title confused everyone. The final secret might surprise you. The film's very title was part of the reason it struggled at first. The Shawshank Redemption sounds powerful today, but back in 1994, it confused audiences. Many people admitted they couldn't pronounce Shawshank, let alone figure out what the movie was about. Some thought it might be a foreign film. Others assumed it was a complicated period drama. The long, unusual title didn't exactly draw people into theaters. Hollywood marketing experts later admitted this was one of the film's biggest obstacles. Posters and trailers didn't help much either, since they leaned heavily on the dark prison setting, making it seem grim instead of uplifting. This confusion was one of the reasons the film initially flopped at the box office, even though critics loved it. But here's the fascinating twist. Over time, that very title became part of its charm. The word Shawshank is now instantly recognizable across the world. It no longer feels strange. It feels iconic, tied forever to Andy, Red, and their story of survival and redemption. What once pushed audiences away now pulls them in, showing how perceptions can change. This secret proves that sometimes a film needs time to find its place. The title that once scared people off eventually helped cement The Shawshank Redemption as one of the most unforgettable movies in history. And there you have it, the hidden truths behind The Shawshank Redemption, a film that went from box office failure to one of the most beloved stories ever told. From near casting surprises to a real prison and an ending that almost looked completely different, these secrets remind us why the movie continues to live on decades later. But here's the real question. What would The Shawshank Redemption mean to you if even one of these secrets had turned out differently? Would it still hold the same power, the same timeless hope? If this deep dive opened your eyes to things you never knew, don't stop here. Hit that like button, share this with other movie lovers, and subscribe for more untold Hollywood stories that keep classic films alive in new ways. Your support helps uncover more secrets behind the movies you thought you knew.